Hello friends, Vanakkam. I am Shunmugaraja, teaching modern history in School of Historical Studies, Madurai Kamaraj University. Today for our class, I am going to teach Vellore Mutiny. For our convenience, I have classified the subject into three parts. The first part of the subject discusses about the revolt, the second part of the subject discusses about the causes, and the third part of the subject going to be discussed about the consequences, how it concluded. So, we are in history calling the year 1766 to 1803, particularly in Indian history, as a turbulent year. Because when British East India Company involved into the territorial expansion for their rule, while they conquered several kings and queens of the land. In the case of deep southern part of India, when it comes to the Mysore, they felt it as an impediment for their further growth. When Tipu of Mysore defeated Third Mysore War, while he lost his territorial control partially. At the end of the Fourth Mysore War in 1799, when Tipu died, which provided a great opportunity for the British East India Company to expand their rule deep most of the South India. For our subject, Vellore Mutiny, I think this is the base, the map for the port. So, which provides the details of the strategic location of the buildings where it is exactly. So, the thing what we need to know, why Vellore revolt happened. We can say as stimulating factor, we can call it in history as immediate cause. When Sir John Hancock, the Commander-in-Chief of Madras Army, introduced new regulations among the Indian soldiers with the consent of the Governor of East India Company, William Penning, in which the British East India Company officials expected the Indian soldiers to wear in the line of European army, which means they not like to wear any of the Indian cultural things on in their body, particularly by the codification debarred Indian soldiers not to wear any earrings and not to show any caste materials on their forehead, and particularly the codification expected the Indian soldiers to have a trimmed mustache on in their upper part of the lip. To add it into the fuel, they expected the Indian soldiers to wear a new turban-like hat, which had a leather cockade with the symbol of grass. When Sir John Hancock introduced the new coats among the Indian soldiers, they initially not accepted it because of their age-old culture and their style of life and many other things not allowed them to accept the new things what they have introduced among them. In addition to that, after the death of Tipu, his family members were interned in the Vellore fort, whom were also believed a part for the cause for the revolt which took place in the fort. In actual time, Tipu had 12 sons and 6 daughters. Among the 6 sons, Fatah Haidar was the elder one, and Maisuddin and Mohideen were also took part in the revolt according to the beliefs of the British officials of East India Company. The new military code expected the native Indian soldiers to wear like these materials in the European army, like bearings. The soldiers whom were not accepted the new introduction of the code, military code, whom very in earlier stage refuted to wear it, and particularly when the military generals expected the soldiers to wear the hat, then they started to agitate against of it and disobeyed their commands, which were not accepted very directly by the British officials. Then they formed a court-martial committee by which they punished the Indian soldiers, which were actually stimulated the soldiers to unite together and fought against of the officials whom were stood against of them in the fort, in which they chose the day when the fifth daughter of Tipu, whose marriage was arranged on the day, as a day for the mutiny. So, particularly the thing what we need to be understand here, when the Indian soldiers initiated their attack, whom were very pinpointedly targeted, the British guards in the fort, and then the British barracks, and then the British officials' quarters, very keenly. Until that time, when Colonel Gillespie arrived from Ranipet to Vellore Fort to quell the mutiny, in the morning 9 o'clock of the next day, the soldiers involved into the turmoil. During that time, actually, the British kept a great force inside of the Vellore Fort. More than 370 Europeans and 1,500 Indian soldiers in the fort to protect it. After the mutiny, the military court of British East India Company found some chief accused, in which they found Subedar Sheikh Adam, Subedar Hamid, and Jamidar Sheikh Hussain and Samidar Sheikh Hasim were responsible for the mutiny, whom were disseminated the idea of mutiny among the soldiers of 6th Regiment and 6 companies of the 1st Regiment and 2nd Battalions of 23rd Regiment. While after mutiny, the British officials were shot dead, particularly Colonel Fancourt and Colonel Harris, when they forced the soldiers to wear the hat and the European style of wearings, by which the disobedient soldiers, whom shown their ideas of freedom among them, were not properly treated, in which they treated the bodies of Harris and Fancourt in a worst manner even after their death. Then Colonel Darley and Sergeant John L.A. and Adjutant General Combs were shot dead. Major Armstrong, who while of his travel, alighted from the palanquin and asked the people what is going on. By hearing the gun sound, he asked the people. He was answered through volley of firing, in which he was very immediately died. In total, the loss, what Indian side they met, 350 Indian soldiers were brutally killed by bayonet and guns gunned down, and particularly whom were tied in the Golabar guns and blown away by the British officials. In the side of British, totally 130 Europeans were killed, among them 13 officers, 82 private Europeans, and 91 were wounded. In total, nearly 29 lakh 8,733.39 star pagodas were looted, which were provided the account by the British documents related to the Vellore Mutiny. Thanks, friends. We can see the subject very elaborately in the next class. Thank you. Nandri.